Rise and join us. Welcome to Radio Free New York.
Hey guys, welcome to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister, and we're here live in the WYSL studio. And of course, I've got Bob Savage here with me.
Yes, it's the post-election version of Bob Savage, too.
Yeah, post-election.
Updated,
well, I see you're wearing black.
Right.
So
It wasn't that bad for the Republicans.
No. You know, the elections overall were they were all right, you know.
Pretty steady as they go. I don't see any groundswell of change anywhere.
Yeah. I think, I mean, certainly there were some good wins. There were some losses. They were kind of disappointing. But there's, you know, all in all, there wasn't like a huge sweeping detrimental change or a huge sweeping positive change either.
No, I don't see any mandate for change anywhere.
Yeah. So, and it's funny you mentioned that because I actually titled this show, you know, what I put in here, post-election thoughts. So that's what we're going to talk about here on this show. I am firing up as we speak the little chat software. So if you guys have questions or comments about Tuesday's election, please jump online, go over to either the YouTube page or the Facebook page, just search in Andrew C. Hollister. You'll see this live stream. You can post questions live, post comments live, or of course you can call into the show. That's 585-346-3000. But what we're going to be talking about today is just some stuff that I think is important to discuss after the election. And the first thing I want to do is congratulate anybody elected to office. Being somebody who's ran for office a couple times, I know it is a ton of hard work. It takes toll on your personal life, your work life, your family life, everything in between. It's just a lot of hard work. So, you know, sometimes I hear people say, you know, I commend anybody who runs for office and have a lot of respect for them. And when I heard that before running for office, I always felt like that was really cheesy, kind of wishy-washy. But after running for office myself, I definitely have to say it is a lot of hard work. So for all those who put in their time, you know, at least recognize that, to say the least. So the other thing I want to bring up and kind of call out here, specific to the Monroe County District Attorney race, the $1 million didn't buy the election.
Yeah, good.
So, yeah, I think that's important. Those of you who are listening and might not know what I'm talking about, you can go back probably a couple weeks ago on our YouTube channel. You'll see I interviewed Sandra Dorley, and one of the things we talked about is that George Soros set up a PAC, funneled over $800,000 through it, I believe is what it was, to take out negative ads against her.
Well, as of the time that we did that show, it was 800, but it did top $1 million.
Did it? Yeah. That's what I thought. And this is somebody who doesn't live here. You know, somebody who doesn't live here, who funneled $1 million into a local county election to try to unseat the district attorney, which I'm not against people trying for change. I'm not against people spending their money to see change. But I think it's really important to point out that even spending that much money, which that race usually only sees about, $200,000 being spent in it. So this is way, way more money spent on a DA race than normally would for Monroe County.
There's two other dimensions to that whole issue that are even more distressing, I think. One is, obviously it's outside money. And also the scurrilous nature of the ads. They were really nasty, vicious attack ads and contained numerous factual inaccuracies.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The ads themselves were distasteful,
yeah.
is certainly, and there was a lot of things in there that, so here's actually an interesting thing. Here I am, a guy on the radio streaming live who owns an IT company. I don't watch television. And that's
Neither do I.
it's like a weird thing when people learn that about me, that I've never had cable TV in my life. I have only owned like 2 televisions ever in my life, you know, and usually I would use them to play video games. So I kept hearing about these ads, and I never saw them. You know,
I saw them here because we're an affiliate of Channel 10, the local NBC station, and so we have all these monitors around the station which are on all the time, and they're all tuned to 10. But I mean, you'd see those ads in a news block. You'd see them 10, 15, 20 times. They're just stacked in there like crazy. And the other part of this thing, other than the scurrilous nature of the ads and the amount of money that was spent, is the fact that George Soros is targeting incumbent district attorneys throughout the United States. He had a Secretaries of State project. Now he has the district attorneys project going. So this is it wasn't even based on issues or performance or anything like that. It's just this naked push to grab power.
No, and that's absolutely true. So being that I don't watch TV, the first time I saw one was in like a Fridays or something, you know, with one of the hanging TVs, and I was like, what is this? And then later, actually, they moved them to Facebook. So I got a chance to see some of them there, and some of the things that were said in there were clearly what's the best way to say it? You know when there's a paragraph and you cut everything out except for 2 words and go, see, they said no.
Out of context.
It was so out of context. So I was glad to see that the voters saw right through that, that the money did not buy the election. Those are things that were a highlight for me, you know, to see that was the case this time. It's not always the case, but in this time it was. I do think that Monroe County ended up with the best district attorney running.
No question. So, the people won that one.
Absolutely. But moving on from that, there are some things, and guys, this is going to be a little libertarian oriented, because I want to tell you guys a little bit about some issues that the Libertarian Party faced in this last election statewide. Most of this actually isn't Monroe County. Some of it is. But I did want to bring up some of these things because I think it's important we talk about what's happening with our electoral system. So the very first thing that happened not the first thing that happened, but the first thing I'm going to bring up is Ulster County, because they had some issue with their ballots in the polls that I think is very important to point out. I know about it because originally it was brought to my attention because the issue happened with the Libertarian Party. However, the Conservative Party was impacted by it as well. And that is that after Board of Elections posted the election results, they actually changed them after the fact. So here, I'm just pulling this up for you guys right now so I can look at it as you guys look at it. But essentially, the Libertarian Party lost some to the tune of like over 4,000 votes after they had already published the election results. And all those votes were moved into the Democrat column. Which is it's a pretty bad look. So what I've got up for you guys right now on the live stream, if you're listening to the radio, I'm going to read the information to you. This was a district attorney's race in Ulster County. This was Wednesday around 12:30 in the afternoon. They showed the Libertarian votes as 4,866, which made up about 10% of the vote in that election. Then around Thursday, 11 o'clock p.m., these numbers actually changed down to 396 votes.
From 4,000 to 300?
Yes, from almost 5,000 to 300. And all of those votes were moved into the Democratic line, looks like.
How can this be in this day and age with the wonderful electronic voting machines?
I couldn't even say what happened there.
You think about that for a minute. That can't possibly be right.
Yeah, no, I agree. I have no idea what's going on. And all of this information, by the way, was taken right off of electionresults.ulstercounty.gov. or ulstercountyny.gov. So straight off their official Board of Elections website. Conservative Party, same thing. Conservative Party lost a little over, looks like 1,400 votes, and they were all moved into the Republican line. So something's not right. I don't know what it is, guys. But we're going to talk a little bit more about some weird stuff that happened this election because nobody else is talking about it. We'll be back on Radio Free New York.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovation should be your first call. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
A reminder from Abate Monroe County. American bikers aim toward education. Distracted driving is dangerous, so pull over and eat. Don't try to read your mail and newspaper, and stay off your cell phone. Make a mental note to be more alert, making it a habit to expect the unexpected. Remember to look twice. Save a life. Train yourself to watch for motorcycles which are harder to see. Join Abate, and your family will be protected with a free $4,000 accident policy. Ride safe. Ride free. Ride often. Abate. If you ride with us. Google Abate Monroe County.
Remember, Scotty's Detail Auto Body for all of your body paint and collision repairs. And also remember, it's still the collision shop of your choice during that unfortunate time. Scotty's Detail Auto Body, Route 15 East Avon, just a quarter mile north of I-390, exit 9.
Radio Free New York on WYSL, AM 1040, FM 92.1, and FM 95.5 West.
All right, we're back here on Radio Free New York. We're talking about Tuesday's election and some of the weird stuff that various Board of Elections were reporting. So before we took the break here, what I did is I was sharing with you guys a weird thing that happened in Ulster County that's extremely concerning. I hope that their Board of Elections comes out with some sort of press release, some sort of response as to what happened here.
Well, a probe would be nice to find out. I mean, what's with this mass movement
of votes
from minority parties, smaller parties, into the Democrat and Republican lines? Yeah. I don't understand how that happens.
Yeah, so I threw it up on the screen for you guys to see again. Here's screenshots from their website showing, Libertarian line had 4,866 votes, and then a little about 24 hours later, all of a sudden their website shows they've got less than 400. So from 10% of the vote down to less than 1% of the vote. And here's the thing. Some people might be saying, oh, well, you just want the Libertarians to have more of the vote because you're a Libertarian. And no, actually, I mean, I think it would be cool if the Libertarians truly got 10% of the vote versus 1% in this race. Like that would be awesome. But that's not my concern. My concern is, how did they get it wrong? And what else could be wrong, or is it still wrong? There's a lot of questions here. I look at the conservative line. I mean, they lost over 1,000 votes. The independence line lost 5 votes. How did these, get all shuffled around and stuff, especially on the official Board of Elections website?
Some kind of problem with fusion voting? That the votes are not being properly attributed, or?
Yeah, I mean, the machines are supposed to scan the ballots and allocate them properly, right? So how is it that the machines scale the ballots?
Be revised, and reshuffled like that?
Yeah, and not just that, but those lines aren't close to each other. I mean, the Republican line and the conservative line have a gap between them. The Libertarian line and the Democrat line have a huge gap in between them. It's not like any of these were close enough together that the machine would scan and allocate them that way. So, I mean, this was caught in Ulster County. I don't know what other counties may or may not look like this. It's kind of up to people to, I guess, hold their Board of Elections accountable and take a look. Now, the one thing I will say is the number changes didn't impact the outcome. So after the change, both candidates had the same number of votes attributed to them. They just shifted the party votes around. It's strange, guys. I mean, you gotta hold your Board of Elections accountable, hold your elected officials accountable. That was very strange. Maybe as strange as what happened in New York City, because New York City had its own issues. Anybody registered libertarian in New York City did not come up as being registered libertarian. They came up as registered to the Working Families Party.
Nobody?
Nobody. So you go down to Board of Elections or your polling place, you sign in, and it said, "Oh, you're registered to the Working Families Party."
Well, you know what that party is. That's the SEIU.
Yeah.
No, seriously. I mean, that's essentially what it is.
Yeah.
It's an outreach of the union.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I just always kind of looked at Working Families Party as an offshoot of the Democrats. But
well, that too.
Yeah. So what was really strange about that is that every single person going in to vote, it categorized them as working families. Now, they received the correct ballot. They were told that their ballots will work the same as anybody else's ballot, which they should. The ballot shouldn't know, which voter cast it. But Board of Elections basically was ignoring the Manhattan Party chairman about the issue. Calling saying, "Hey, we're starting to get phone calls. We're starting to get people on Facebook and stuff saying that their voter registrations aren't right." And Board of Elections essentially kind of blew the issue off, pretended it wasn't happening until a little after 2 o'clock, maybe closer to 3. Board of Elections made a statement because people were tweeting about it on Twitter. And that's actually what got it, which is one of these things is social media. There's a lot of bad stuff about social media, but there's also the idea that social media now gives people a voice, which I think is really important. And I believe that Board of Elections probably would not have addressed this issue whatsoever, made a statement about it, nothing. If people weren't tweeting about it on Twitter and started gaining traction. So thousands of registered libertarians have been misclassified as members of the Working Families Party. And this was confirmed by Board of Elections Valerie Vasquez. And they said this was a problem with a data mapping issue with the new poll iPads. And the result is that all 3,106 registered libertarians across New York City are showing up as members of the Working Families Party when they sign in to vote.
So tell them what the implications of this are. I mean, for the individual candidates, there is no impact. But in terms of your party's qualifying to be on the ballot, because there's a threshold that you have to hit, right?
That's actually a different issue. So that would be for a gubernatorial election.
It's only gubernatorial.
And it's votes casted towards the candidate. So the first issue in Ulster County, absolutely. I mean, that could potentially take a political party off the ballot if that were to happen.
That's my point.
Yeah. This issue, this could impact, imagine you show up to the polls to vote in a Republican primary, and the poll worker says, you can't, you're registered working families. Or you can't, you're registered Democrat.
For a primary.
For a primary. Yeah, absolutely. So this is, it wasn't like a serious issue in terms of what happened during the general election, but it points to a serious data integrity issue. I mean, you're talking about having a system that should absolutely be able to say what party you're registered as, that would definitely be used for a primary to determine your eligibility to vote in your primary. And they may say, oh, sorry, you can't participate in your primary. You can't vote because you're not registered to that party. That's a serious issue.
No, I'm far from being alone in this sentiment. I just feel queasy about the use of computers to tabulate these votes.
Yeah.
So we all know how. We all know how computers can be subverted to, any purpose that you might want by a clever outsider. It's just everybody knows how possible that is.
Yeah, being in IT, I still feel that the electronic system lends a much better audit trail to fix those things. But I tell you what, this is really concerning. I mean, you look at this stuff and you go, well, the Obamacare website didn't turn out so good. Who are they hiring to do this other stuff, to report these numbers? Because the technology is out there to be secure. None of this should ever happen. And for this to happen with the technology that's out there today points at extremely poor quality assurance testing, data validation. Our election should be the highest quality of standards, period. And I don't care that this was brought to my attention because it happened to libertarians. But if this was Working Families Party, if this was Independence Party, Green Party, Republicans, Conservatives, Democrats, I don't care who it's happening to. This is the voice of the people we're talking about. It should be accurate. There should be no mistakes. It should have been tested months and months ago, not being found out like the day of the election. So that to me is that's scary stuff, and like I said, I'm big on the technology. Like, that's why I work in every day. These systems can be secure, they can be accurate, they can be way more efficient. I think that the paper systems are more apt to, with a paper system, somebody could swap out a box of ballots and nobody would know. With a digital system, you should have a hard copy of the ballots and then a digital copy to reference against them. So I feel like it should and could be more secure, but I think instead what's happening is extremely poor quality testing.
Why can't we get a receipt from the voting machine?
I would love a receipt. I think Texas does that. I think a few other
we've talked about
do.
this.
Yeah.
If they just spit out a receipt saying this polling place, this date, this time.
Yep. I think that we could, with today's technology, once again, I think we could go a step further than that. I think you could get a printed receipt that tells you the date, the time, everybody that your vote was logged as, and then with a little barcode and an ID. And if you were ever unsure as to what your ballot looked like, you could go home, go online, type in the ID of your ballot, and see the scanned copy and see how it tabulates. The technology exists. Why aren't we doing
appropriate
that?
security, of course.
Yeah, of course. But the thing is, the ballots are technically public information anyways, because it's not associated to a person. So you can request copies of the ballots after the election. Candidates do that. The ballot itself doesn't need to be protected because there's no name on it. It's just a record. So you could go back and just be like, does my record match what I did? And if it does, great. Because the other thing is, that would be really cool for people whose ballots were invalidated. Imagine you go back and you see that your ballot was invalidated. Maybe you get the chance to fix it, and have your voice matter. Right now, you put in the machine, it says casting ballot. You know what it doesn't say? It doesn't say who it casted that ballot for.
Right.
It doesn't say whether or not your ballot was marked invalid or not. It just says casting ballot. And you got to take everybody's word for it that it's right and how you marked it. And
well, in my district, I get ballot successfully cast.
Oh, there you go. Something like that.
But that's not printed. I mean, it just displays on the machine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a bad system. We got to make it better. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break here on Radio Free New York. We'll be back in a moment.
You're listening to the voice of liberty. WYSL. AM 1040 Avon, Rochester, FM 92.1 Rochester, FM 95.5 Spencerport, and WYSL1040.com everywhere.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Aircraft Environmental Systems proudly supports Radio Free New York. Rochester-based leaders in climate simulation chambers for America's R&D laboratories. We're experts in troubleshooting, calibrations, custom designs, and consulting for more than 40 years. Industry pioneers, we created the first ever fleet of temperature, humidity, and altitude test chambers available to rent coast to coast. Trained and trusted by environmental chamber manufacturers, we are ACES. Find us at acesinc.com.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at SimpleTech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, SimpleTech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Radio Free New York on WYSL, AM 1040, FM 92.1, and FM 95.5 West.
All right, we are back here on Radio Free New York talking about election woes on Election Day. There just seemed to be a lot of things this last election, and I don't know if it's because I'm just more aware of what's going on because I'm in it, because some of this stuff the media isn't reporting on, period. So the media did not pick up and run with the story at all about people's voter registrations being inaccurately tied to other parties. The media hasn't yet, to the best of my knowledge, ran any type of story about close to 4,000 votes moving from one party to another in Ulster County. This stuff is important. Our elections are really important. We should be asking and holding Board of Elections accountable. These mistakes may not have changed the outcome of the election. That doesn't make it acceptable. Certainly not to me.
Of course, the election people would tell you, nobody promised you a perfect election. They just promised you a fair election. And I don't know. I guess there's irregularities in almost all elections, every cycle. I'm not making excuses, but
yeah. I'm just saying, these type of things. I'm one of those people that definitely believes in the integrity of our elections, and when I see something like this, it really makes me think twice. It gets me a little nervous. So that's what I gotta say about that. The Libertarian Party had a few other issues in this election. In Erie County especially, all the candidates were taken off the ballot. So that was a big issue. That actually happened before the election a couple months ago. But I think it's worth bringing up along with these other things. There may or may not be a lawsuit going on because of it. But essentially, the Erie County candidates filed the same paperwork to Board of Elections that every other county received. And Erie County said, nope, not good enough. And they sent it back, asked for corrections. Corrections were made. It went back. And it sounds like Board of Elections waited to the last day or pretty close to the last day to say, no, this isn't good enough either, and let all the candidates come off the ballot. And since it was past the date to dispute, the judge ruled, yeah, you missed your window. So the thing is, maybe somebody screwed up paperwork. That's possible. Seems unlikely since all the other counties' Board of Elections accepted the exact same paperwork. I wasn't there to review it, so I'm not going to say one way or another. But what I am going to say is the ability for one or two people to choose who does or doesn't get on the ballot is concerning.
I was going to say, so what's the upshot of this whole thing? So it stands like that?
Well, election's done and over. You know, they did have the opportunity to pursue a lawsuit, and I think what ended up happening is they didn't have the funds to do it, you know, being a small organization. So the candidates were forced with the idea that they could try to run a write-in campaign, try to keep up with what they've done.
Well, that'll be really successful.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. So I've been told by numerous independent people that Erie County Board of Elections specifically is very anti-third party, and this isn't the first time they've taken candidates off the ballot, and they've kind of have an aggressive campaign against third parties. I don't know if that's true or not. I'm hearing it from a lot of different people, so there's at least that.
Find some well-funded individual who's, you know, civic-minded who will help them mount a lawsuit.
Maybe that's, you know, we'll have to see what happens for this upcoming year's election and see if those things can get done or not. But this to me is another example of how maybe we need to reevaluate some of this stuff. You know, the way New York State is built, it's really built around two major parties. And if you're not a part of one of those two major parties, your voice is likely not going to get heard, you know, in New York, the way things are set up right now. And what's worse is political campaigns look at this, they look at paperwork and things like that as an avenue to exploit their opponents. So, like, you're running a campaign, and instead of trying to be the best possible candidate, trying to win the hearts and minds of voters, instead you start looking for paperwork errors, possibly. This happened, I think, twice in Rochester recently, and also I think in one of the Supreme Court judge races recently as well in Monroe County. You know, campaigns, instead of trying to be the best they could, or parties, instead of trying to be the best they could, instead start looking for clerical errors as a reason to deny people voice in an election. And I get that that's a strategy, and you're like, yeah, I got to win this election, but denying the American people their voice, you know, on a technicality is not
disenfranchise
right.
People.
Yeah.
Just because they may not vote for you.
Exactly. But that's
called stuffing the ballot box, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. So that to me is an issue. It's an issue that I think is really important to bring light to. And then the other issue that goes along with this is the media trying to drown out third parties. And so we have the Democrat and Chronicle who, you know, I don't know if this was on purpose or not, but the Libertarian Party did cross-endorse a number of candidates, along with a few independently running Libertarian-only candidates, and they changed the abbreviation from LBT, which is the New York State Board of Elections set abbreviation for the Libertarian Party on the ballot, to LIB, making it look like candidates were running not as libertarians, but instead as liberals. And you see this on their website. They were notified of it multiple times. Campaigns started reaching out because they were freaking out. They're like, my constituents are going to think I'm a liberal. I'm not a liberal. I'm you know. So I just popped up an image for you guys. We talked about the DA's race earlier. You know, Sandra Dorley's campaign, she's listed as Republican, conservative, liberal, independent instead of libertarian. And some of the campaigns were...
Or what looked like liberal.
What looked like liberal, yeah. So LIB
actually liberal. LBT is what the abbreviation is supposed to be.
So I guess LIB is actually... There used to be a liberal party in New York, and that is actually the the abbreviation for it. I'm not sure when they existed. I guess like a pretty long time ago. So this showing up on the ballot, or not on the ballot, and the Democrat and Chronicle, people started calling and stuff. Same thing. And the DNC said, well, that's what the Associated Press told us to use. So that's what we're using. And to this date, they haven't fixed it. If you go and look at the articles, it's still there. So that to me is just kind of the media trying to sway voters in a mischievous way, saying, oh yeah, like this person's a liberal, maybe they're a progressive, maybe they're this or that, and pushing people to think that a candidate stands behind values that they don't, and some of the candidates really felt that they had to defend themselves when this came out. They were like, hey, no, I stand for liberty. I stand for the Constitution. I'm not a progressive. Like, what are you talking about? I'm not a liberal. And they didn't make any changes. Spectrum did something a little less, direct. Basically what they did is they just gave no recognition to the Libertarian Party. So when they posted up candidates, if they were a Republican, they got a red square and an R. If they were a Democrat, they got a blue square and an R. Conservative, yellow square and a C. Independents, yellow square and a C. Working families, yellow square and a W. Libertarian, no square. So
sure,
and the funny thing is, in some of these elections, the Libertarian candidates actually took a significantly higher percentage of votes than working families did, than the Conservative Party did, than the Independence Party did. And the Spectrum just kind of was like, we're just gonna pretend they don't exist, So there they are with no, insignia next to their name.
They're like the Rodney Dangerfield Party. Yeah. You can't get no respect.
Yeah, basically. So what I chalk some of this up to is the media clearly just not being in the know. Because the Libertarian Party has ran candidates in the past before we were actually a ballot access party in New York. So I think what's happening is they missed the notification, like, hey, by the way, Libertarian Party is actually a legitimate party this year, like all the other parties. And so they essentially put them down as running as a blank or like independent of party.
Well, back to the DNC. Did you guys protest at the DNC and say, what's with the LIB? That's not the approved abbreviation for our party. Why isn't it LBT?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So their response was the Associated Press told us to use this, and that's what we're using.
You know what? I'll bet you they were afraid that it's too close to LBGTQ.
Yeah, I was looking at it and I was I bet you like they were worried about that and thought, wow, look at the support they'd get if that's what it was. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So I did wonder about that. I don't know if that's true or not, but I did, in the back of my mind, I was thinking,
put yourself in the shoes of these journalists and pseudo journalists, and I'll let you assign percentages of how many fit in each category. But I'll bet you anything that you put yourself in the mindset of that bunch. Mm-hmm. They wouldn't want lesbian, gay, transsexual people to suddenly be confused with libertarian because they'd be afraid that would swell your ranks.
Yeah, and they might actually vote for the right person. Who would have thunk?
That's right. The right person is in the eye of the beholder, right?
Yeah. No, absolutely. So yeah, this election was actually very exciting for the Libertarian Party. We've got a couple Libertarian only seats elected into office. There's a DA's race in Broome County right now that looks like the Libertarian beat not just a Republican, but I think a Democrat as well. So I think it's coming down to the absentee ballots right now, and that'll be really interesting to see once they count all those up what the official thing is. But right now they're winning. Right now, they've won. So that's extremely exciting. We've got some town council people. Locally here in Monroe County, we have some county legislators who were cross-endorsed that were elected. Obviously, district attorney, a couple judges.
Explain to them what cross-endorse means.
So cross-endorsing is, in New York State, we have what's called fusion voting. And fusion voting allows you as a candidate to be supported by multiple parties, and then your name can actually be on the ballot more than once. So you might run as an Independence Party person and a Libertarian, and your name will be on the Independence line and on the Libertarian line. Or maybe you're a Democrat and a Libertarian, or a Republican and a Libertarian.
So as a Libertarian candidate, you have to go out and seek those parties' endorsements, right?
Yeah. And that process is actually really rigorous. Like I can't tell you how many candidates called me, texted me after the fact, or I saw them and they were like, wow, nobody's put us through that before, but it was really good, because what they were saying is that moving into this year, into this next election, when they see somebody on the Libertarian line, they realize and know that you had to work for that, and you had to stand by your principles. You couldn't just. Supposedly some parties, they just require a donation and then you get on the line. I don't know if that's true or not, but they're like, everybody knows that's not the case with the Libertarian Party. So that's awesome. All right, guys, we're going to take our last break. When we come back, we're actually going to talk about the future of minor parties in New York. We'll be back in a moment on Radio Free New York.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at SimpleTech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, SimpleTech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Fiorella, a family-owned farm-to-table Italian restaurant with casual atmosphere at the newly renovated Rochester Public Market. Fiorella offers wood-fired, old-world-style pizza with naturally leavened dough, house-made fresh pasta, desserts, and gelato. Enjoy craft beers, imported Italian and New York State wines. Open Wednesday through Saturday for lunch and dinner. Wednesday evenings enjoy no corkage fee, and Thursday is gnocchi night. Call 434-5705 for reservations. View the menu on the web, restaurantfiorella.com.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
You're listening to Radio Free New York on the WYSL stations.
And we're back here on Radio Free New York, talking about the election, talking about minor political parties. We talked a little bit about fusion voting, and now we're going to talk about the future of minor parties in New York, because that's a topic that keeps popping up in the media. We're seeing kind of some weird stuff with the numbers in the elections here. So I'm going to give you guys the scoop on that. the first thing is that you need to know going into this is that Cuomo is very, very upset with the Working Families Party. He wants to see them gone. So that's really what started. And this started with the last gubernatorial election when Cynthia Nixon was running, and that little failed coup that went on there. So now Cuomo is trying to basically, get rid of that party. Well, because of that, the discussion started with the elimination of fusion voting. So if you're just joining us, we just talked about fusion voting a little bit, but that is the idea that a candidate can be associated with multiple parties on their ballot in New York. This is different than most states. Most states you can't do this. I think there's only a handful of them that you can do it now. And that's essentially, say you were going to run as a libertarian, you'd get your name on the ballot as a libertarian, and then maybe there was another party that felt that your values were similar enough to theirs that that they gave you an endorsement as well, whether that's the conservatives, the independents, the Democrats, the Republicans, the Greens, the SAM. I don't know. It kind of depends. Each party does their vetting differently. But that happens here in New York. So let me tell you guys first how a party becomes a party in New York. In the gubernatorial election, you run your candidate. If your candidate gets 50,000 votes or more in New York, your party becomes a legitimate party in New York. So that's how that's done. So if you eliminate fusion voting, because what's happened in the past has been the large parties, Republicans and Democrats, they'll run a candidate. And then the small minor parties will kind of latch on to that candidate. So, for example, Cuomo ran, and then Independence Party endorsed Cuomo, and Independence Party got enough votes for Cuomo on their line to remain a party in New York. However, if you look at the Reform Party, Republicans endorsed Mark Molinaro. Reform Party cross-endorsed Mark Molinaro, so they were both on his name was on both lines. They only got 27,000 votes. So guess what? Not a party anymore. They're gone. That's how it works in New York. So Cuomo's thought was eliminate fusion voting. Now each of these parties has to run their own candidates. And, well, they're probably not going to make that mark. So what that would look like is Republicans run a candidate. Conservative Party would have to come up with a candidate that runs against the Republican to stay a party. Democrats run a candidate. The Independence line would have to come up with their own candidate to run against the Republican and the Democrat and the Conservative Party candidate, and all of them need at least 50,000 votes to stay alive. So
there's not enough money in the state to boost any of these candidates, or most of these candidates, to the threshold they need to get to.
Well, and money, I think, is part of it, but I think there's a lot of partisanship. There's a lot of other things. I think a lot of people in New York, they take the minor parties as a way to punish their party. So, for example, they'll be like, well, I don't like the Democrats, but I'm scared of Trump. So because I'm scared of Trump, I won't vote for the Republicans. So I'll vote for Cuomo, but on the Independence line. That's like the logic they follow. The Republicans, when they were running Mark Molinaro, there's a lot of issues with the campaign, and a lot of Republicans were saying they were going to vote for him on the conservative line to punish the Republican Party, for choosing him as a candidate, which is really, really backwards, because when you say that out loud, you're saying, I'm going to vote for the guy, but I'm not going to vote for him on the party because I don't like that they chose him. Like, it's kind of backward logic, but that's what they ran with, and they maintained their ballot access. So with that being said, Cuomo just recently said he's not in favor of getting rid of the minor parties, that he wants to keep fusion voting, which was a weird.
What's with the reverse?
Couldn't say. So this is a recent statement he made, I think about a week ago, saying that, no, I like fusion voting. We should keep it. So I would say that if fusion does go away, whether or not it does or doesn't is still up in the air. I suspect that we would see, come our next gubernatorial election, Independence Party and Conservative Party disappear from New York. And the reason for that is pretty simple. Even like elected candidates can't tell me the difference between a candidate that runs as a Republican and a candidate that runs as a conservative. If you had two opponents, one was a Republican and one was a conservative, you tell me what the differences are between those two candidates when you make your choice. And chances are the electoral, the constituents, they have no idea. It's that simple.
Well, I got this from 3 days ago. And this is WAMC, the Northeast Public Radio headquartered in Albany. If you voted in New York State, you may have been able to vote for the same candidate on multiple ballot lines, but it could be the last election. Yep. With so-called fusion voting in New York. State Public Campaign Financing Commission has been discussing the future of campaign financing and fusion voting, where candidates can run on multiple ballot lines, like we talked about. Governor Cuomo has expressed concerns that fusion voting could wreak havoc with a publicly funded campaign finance system. There you go. That's the issue.
There you go. Publicly,
because he wants tax dollars to finance campaigns, which is a terrible idea.
Yeah. So in the event that fusion voting goes away, the parties that I think live through it are going to be Green Party, because they've ran their own candidate and maintained ballot access for years. Libertarian Party, they've always ran their own candidates. They haven't cross-endorsed. And maybe the Sam Party, maybe if Stephanie Miner runs again. Working Families Party could probably pull together a candidate as well. That would be my guess. But the latest talk about how they're going to eliminate fusion voting has actually changed from making it illegal to have your name associated with multiple parties on the ballot to changing that threshold to become a real party. So the new discussion is, right now, today, you need 50,000 votes in the gubernatorial election. They're talking about raising the bar. First, they said 100,000, then 200,000. Now they're saying 250,000 votes is what you would need to basically become a political party, to renew your next 4 years of political, having a party.
Yikes.
Yeah. So that's going to be a stretch probably for a lot of those smaller parties. I think at that point, Sam Party definitely goes away. Sam Party has no chance. They barely made 50,000, and they had way more money than some of the other ones.
Well, here's some more examples of why we should be concerned. I mean, here's trouble on the horizon. Cuomo says that he supports public finance, blah, 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 blah. And this commission, this public finance commission that he's put together, to put forth a plan, you need support from the executive, the assembly, and the Senate, which, of course, are all controlled by Democrats.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. The commission, there's going to be a commission report on fusion voting coming out Thanksgiving Eve.
Oh,
that's when it'll be released to the legislature, and members have a right to vote against it or change it or for it. So the fact that they're releasing this when everybody is going to be
not paying attention,
stuffing the turkey, indicates that they're up to something.
Yeah, and that's right before Thanksgiving. Then you got Black Friday, Small Business Saturday, whole everything.
We've decided we're going to end fusion voting in New York while you were watching the game.
And doing all that. Yeah. So if I look at last year's numbers, I mean, you got Reform Party doesn't exist anymore. Women's Equality Party doesn't exist anymore. The Independence Party, even though they ran Cuomo, they got less than 70,000 votes. So it would be a struggle, I think, for any of the minor parties that are running today that cross-endorse for their gubernatorial candidate. I think they're going to struggle. I think that if this bar does get set to 250,000, Conservative Party goes away, Independence Party goes away, Working Families Party goes away. I mean, a lot of them go. Probably Green Party and Libertarian Party might be the only minor parties left in New York. Guys, thank you so much for joining me. On Monday, I've got a special guest coming in. I'll promote it on Facebook, let you know who it is. I'll catch you guys on Monday.